All right, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. See, look, I didn't even plan to have this jacket on, but there it is. Welcome, everybody, for tuning into this sort of like impromptu broadcast. I'm gonna take my fly Adidas Daddy's jacket. No, I'm not. I'm gonna leave it on. You can see my Harlem and Denim shirt in a little bit. Shout out to Harlem and Denim. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Najima, and we are checking in for a post GOP debate chat. We're checking in. All right. I want to invite my guests along. We're going to add all the guests in. Thank you so much for joining us. LG, Kanika Sloan Esquire. All right. And Damon, the unindicted Watson. Let's give it a round of applause, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. So this broadcast is being shared on my personal Facebook page, Najima Washington. It's going to be shared on Did You Catch the Forecast? Because this is a broadcast technically of The Forecast, A New Day. This is a multimedia project that began in the height of the pandemic and continues to follow the five tenets. We're looking at the issue, what's been disrupted, what was it like before, how was it sustained, who's looking at it, the watchdog, local lens, what does it look like in your city, and then what is a hopeful story about this issue. Well, the hot button topic, obviously, besides the fact that, talk to me, Damon, your boy got indicted. Talk to me. Talk
Man,
to me about it.
man, which part? Just the
Just
just the
the indictment.
GOP, the indictment, the
Yeah, man. You
indictment.
so hype. I mean, that's the news tonight. That's
That
the
is the
news
news
tonight.
tonight, and I'm really enjoying this. So, Fonnie Willis, if you all haven't been following this, Fonnie is one of the prosecutors. She's the DA for Fulton County, and she brought the indictment, a state indictment, against 19 people, including Donald Trump. And it's amazing because it was taking a while for her to get that indictment out. And I know I got impatient. A lot of people were, impatient. Like, hey, what's taking so long?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, she was putting together a RICO case, and
Yes.
and that is huge, especially considering she was also charging Rudy Giuliani, who was known
Ooh.
for bringing RICO cases against people in New York.
Kanika's
So,
laughing, so I'm gonna let her jump on in. Come on in
yeah,
now, sister.
Listen, I am a New York licensed attorney. I have practiced law in New York. I am from Brooklyn, New York. So I am quite familiar with America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani. And, I've watched the whole Trump mystique, as a New Yorker from afar, really kind of with awe and disdain that the entire country has fallen for, America's grifter. And
Mm.
so, the bottom line is, what did your grandmama used to say, Malcolm X used to say? The chickens come home to roost at some time, right? So
Ooh.
it
mhm.
has been, David used to wear Schadenfreude. It has been grab your popcorn, something to watch. A RICO charge, right? We all were
Right.
expecting perhaps election interference or whatever that statute looks like in Georgia, but a RICO charge to basically charge former President Trump with being the criminal mastermind of a RICO enterprise. Now, to be fair, the Atlanta DA, Fonnie Willis, has used the RICO statute also, in rap cases and other cases.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Mhm.
again, to Damon's point, Giuliani was a master of that. So back to those chickens coming home. So it's been interesting.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. You really just broke that down with a whole nother level that I hadn't necessarily thought of. So thank you. And I didn't know, I don't think I knew you were from New York. I don't think you knew
Brooklyn. From Brooklyn.
New York, Brooklyn, New York. Man, it is really chickens coming home to roost.
The other
Woo!
beauty of it too, to me, racketeering influence corrupt organizations, RICO, right? What
Uh-huh.
makes
Yep.
it so special for Georgia is that, yeah, they were using it as a federal prosecution tool in New York with Giuliani, but in Georgia, it is much broader, right? And so they can do way more with the RICO in a state level Georgia than they were doing with federal cases. So like Kanika was saying, they've used it in rap cases. She's used it to prosecute teachers that were involved in
I remember that.
So she can use this in a lot of ways. I think she's done it maybe 11 times. So she knows what she's doing, how to use this. And so it's a wonderful tool because Trump loves to style himself poorly, but style himself after mobsters. I guess he wants to be, John Gotti, but the difference between Gotti and Trump is that Gotti was actually smart, and Gotti actually worked for his, and so that, stuff like that. But leaving that alone, that case is out there. He wanted to style himself as a mobster, and because of that, and giving out orders, but saying in a very veiled way or whatever else, she can wrap up the entire criminal enterprise.
Yes.
Even though it's not hijacking trucks, it is stealing.
Let's bring it down, because we got two lawyers who are just too excited on this. Y'all just too excited. Let me bring in LG. Talk to me. Let's shift now to the debate. Give me your perspective. What did you even think about what the fact that they were doing a debate and your boy Trump ain't debated in 8 years? Did you know that?
When you think about it, you realize it's been that long, but when you don't think about it, it's very insignificant. I mean, as far as the debate is concerned, I mean, I feel like it was a waste of time. Who actually won? Like, who was really?
I'm wondering if Republicans watched it, right? No, right. I'm wondering if only Democrats watched it. I'm wondering if Republicans actually watched that debate.
Wow.
Right. But
I'm curious.
Right. But are people watching it? And the other thing is, too, did people watch it for entertainment purposes or to actually learn something and to try to figure out who they were going to vote for in 2024? That's the real question.
I always want people to keep in mind that it's so early.
It is.
Their minds are already made up. That's what.
Right.
Well, I think that people who are voting for Trump are voting for Trump. And honestly, while certainly Trump has his multiple, what is this indictment number 4? Multiple legal troubles, and his current bond in the Georgia RICO case requires him not to use social media, et cetera, et cetera. So he's not going to debate, right? He can't say things that effectually could be used against him. So I think it did Trump to some extent a favor, right? He gets to stay above the fray. He doesn't even get to get on the stage where where some of his opponents, because we know Chris Christie is coming for him, might actually attack him. And so, now you have all of these people on the stage and they're vying for second place. So the people who are going to vote for Trump are going to vote for Trump. Not a debate, not a RICO charge, not a nothing's going to change that. So what those people were doing last night was trying to vie for second place, right? If somehow the king gets knocked out, who does everybody else look at, right?
They just look like such sheep.
It was horrible. I literally posted it was a poop show. It was horrible. Like, seriously. Ron DeSantis has had a spectacular. I've never seen anybody implode a campaign.
I know.
Ron DeSantis is it's insane. Like, really, you don't have any media consultants. Nobody. Swamy is clearly like, hey, make me the heir apparent. Nobody. Right. But I don't know. Half of Trump's base can't even pronounce his name. Right. No. So he's probably not going to end up on. Bless Tim Scott's heart. Just bless it. Like, but the concept that both Tim Scott and Nikki Haley are both running from South Carolina. It's quite odd, right? Because, we're not talking about Ohio. We're not talking about California. We're talking about New York. We're not talking about a super populous place, right? So are we really saying that South Carolina has enough primary votes that there's going to be like a real thing? I mean, it was.
You talk about my state.
Right. Listen, I'm not mad at South Carolina. I'm saying that
Implied
where is the
version.
base that they're looking for, right? They're looking for somebody who is not going to vote for Trump, but still cares about traditional Republican
So
values.
can we step? Okay, I'm gonna what you got? What you got?
I want to interject really quickly since you brought up Nikki Haley and Tim Scott. As a fellow South Carolinian, I actually think that it's quite ironic that not one but two candidates from the state of South Carolina are minorities. They're not white men.
Right.
Is that
Yes, this
progress?
is very interesting.
It's
I
This
think
is so interesting.
but they also undermine every bit of it. I was talking earlier about Nikki Haley, the way that she's playing on that whole fear of Kamala Harris, right? And it's like, well, if we vote for Biden, then she'll come in, and I'm like, why would you bring that up? And it's their fear, and you see it with Fonnie Willis. You saw it with Tish James at first, but you definitely see it with Fonnie. It is honestly a fear of Black women, and because you're looking at, I was saying earlier, they really don't understand what they're dealing with when they're dealing with Black women. I was raised by my grandmother, my Black grandmother, and my Black mother. My old Black family.
Right.
And so I understand that. I have that level of exposure. Most Black men do. But when you're just used to white privilege and living your whole life in the comfort of your whiteness, when you come up against a person, a force, or whatever that is not controllable in the same way, I say that they don't understand what they're dealing with, because Black women don't do the whole threat and I demand that you do thus and so. That'll make a Black woman go the exact opposite way. They don't have the level of deference like that they're used to. Black women just don't do that. And it's a cultural screw up. So when they're just like, I demand you do this, it's like, okay, we're gonna do the opposite. In this case today, she actually granted something. They were like, well, filing the motions, what's his name? I forgot which one it was, but he was filing to get a speedy trial because he thought that she wasn't ready. That goes to what Fonnie was doing before. She was prepping the case. So when they said, "Oh, I want a speedy trial," she's like, "Great, I can move this thing up. We're gonna go in October." There you go. And she was ready. And instead of having to prep the case is prepped. So they're not used to that. They're not used to Kamala.
How far along are they? How prepared are they in this case?
So I think that Fonnie is shooting for October 23rd. I would be shocked if the judge granted October 23rd, right? Because again, we're talking about 19 defendants. We're talking about jury trial. We're talking about a whole bunch of things that have to happen. It's August. It's functionally almost September. October 23rd is super ambitious. But to Damon's point, they called her bluff, and she was like, "I'm not bluffing." When preparation meets opportunity, right? But to circle back to Elle's point, I think South Carolina is absolutely a unique state in that they have given, obviously, a woman of color. I don't want to shade Nikki Haley. I'm not quite sure how she identifies. And Tim Scott, who absolutely is a man of color, prominent positions. Where I find a concern is whether those candidates, both Nikki and Tim Scott, Nikki Haley and Governor Haley and Tim Scott, Senator Scott, believe that success within their state translates into the larger Republican base. I'm not sure I believe that. Clearly, they believe that, but I'm not sure. Listen, bless it. I watched Nikki Haley last night. I watched her on a stage with, I don't know, 7 other men, 6 of which were white. And to be very, very candid, now remember, Nikki Haley has not only been governor, she's also been an ambassador. She's clearly a accomplished woman. While her values and mine may be different, she clearly has accomplishments. But I watched her. What I promise you, what I kept thinking? Is there a reason why accomplished women who are running for president have to be boring? Like, there was nothing about her that was particularly, regardless of which box you check on Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal side, there was nothing about Nikki Haley that was interesting. Not at all. She had a very difficult time being the only woman. She should have been a star. She should have been a star in that stage, right? Because, to your point, several of the, governors, some of those people could have been interchangeable. Nikki Haley should have stood out. And instead, to me, in watching the debate, she seemed to struggle to find a lane.
Right.
I couldn't keep my interest on all of it. All right. I wanted to step back and I wanted to ask a question. I'm trying to do a whole lot. I'm trying to hide the banner. I'm trying to talk right here. If I remove myself from the broadcast, forgive me, because it's too much going on. But I wanted to step back and I wanted to not only thank everybody for tuning in. This is the forecast, a new day. It's just us talking about what's going on because things are changing and they continue to change. We find ourselves in another election cycle. How did that happen? I guess it has to happen. Thank you. I'm glad it has to. I'm glad it happened. I wanted to bring up this point though, because we have to come back here. We are the United States of America. That's 50 states. That's 50 distinct states, all governed differently to a degree, with ideologies that differ from coast to coast. Who referred to America as an experiment? Because this is about to implode, ain't it?
I forget where that got started, but I know that that's definitely a thing. To say that the great American experiment. We love our little, whatever.
Right.
And then of course all of the individual states, they're supposed to be the laboratories of democracy, each one. And it's an opportunity to see because each state government is very similar to the federal government, the setup of the federal government. So those powers under the 10th Amendment that fall to the states, the states and the people, those states are able to try their different ideologies and see where it gets them. And well, you see where it gets you. What the red states look like versus the blue states.
We see South Carolina and Georgia being the only two states with abortion laws that ban abortion between 6 and 8 weeks. That's what we see. That's what we get.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna see a lot more of that because of gerrymandering and the way that they have structured representation within the individual states. And so you're going to get this outsized representation for some voices over others, and that's just going to be state by state until somebody corrects that. To the credit of the Republican Party, their infrastructure has always been thought out, well planned. They think multi-generationally. Democrats every 4 years come up on they discover every 4 years, oh my God, there's a presidential election coming up. And they're always trying to invent something that, Republicans have been planning for all along. And then when they do it, so it's almost like, I like my sci-fi. It's like watching Sith Lords versus the Jedi just being established. And then Sith Lords just come along because they had a plan that's lasted for 1,000 years, and so then it's like, oh my God, what happened? We all just got wiped out by 2 people. Yes. Called a plan. Try that. But that's
over her head.
Yes. So they're going to hurt themselves, though. They're going to hurt themselves. The abortion piece. The abortion piece is a mobilizing piece. So yeah, you have. It is. So you have gerrymandering inside your individual states, right? And while you can arrange to have this representative or that representative by the way that you draw your district lines, in the end, when it comes down to actually trying to get something passed statewide, you start to see more of the representation that you couldn't hide from. When you start thinking nationally, you start again seeing it. So like you can get some things done, just by people that would say vote with the state of Alabama, the way Alabama thinks, right? But by the time you start adding in California, New York, Illinois, the states that scare Republicans quite clearly by virtue of that, debate. you know, that's when you start to have more of a say. And you know, you cannot win, nationwide elections. You cannot get to be the president of the United States. When we look at Nikki Haley, for example, we talked about how qualified she is. She absolutely is qualified. She absolutely should be the one who advances to the general election. And because she should be, by right, when you think about it, she won't be, because of the kind of base that they have courted, they've nurtured, and they are not the kind of people that will advance somebody that has any level of sense. They've decided they want to run. They are in a cult. They want to run with the loudest, most racist, most misogynistic person, the person that speaks to the Republican id. They ran with it, and this is what they're going to stick with to the dying day. And they will lose every election just to stand by it. I have seen this before in the state of Alabama. They will lose and lose and lose just to have what they want, even if they lose some more.
Wow. Thank you, Damon, for that. You are watching The Forecast. This is season 2, episode 2. We're doing a live recap of the GOP. I've got LG, my girl from SC. I've got Kanika Sloan, Esquire, who's going to fill us in more about what's exactly going on down in Atlanta. And then also we've got Damon the Unindicted Watson holding it down for Alabama Shy Atlanta.
For everybody.
This place is from Alabama Shy Atlanta. And I want to highlight Damon for a second. I'm trying to do the two of us, but I don't know how to do all of that. Spotlight, layout, shift 4 with the all right. I'm calling him the Dr. Henry Frierson smart brother. He's sitting in the Dr. Henry Frierson smart brother chair. You are the good brother, Mr. Damon Watson, Esquire. So let me tell you what that's all about, people. I had the pleasure of doing a program at Chapel Hill before I went to grad school there. This was the summer pre-graduate research experience, and I met some of my best lifelong friends. 2 of whom were supposed to be showing up on this live. So when I call you out, Chris and John, we'll talk about this later. But Dr. Frierson was one of the leaders. This program was intended to get students of color to explore PhD programs. And I want to just hats off to them for the work that they did. I know so many Black PhDs. It's not over for me yet. There's still time. I can still teach the babies. So, Damon, you sit in the Dr. Henry Frierson smart brother chair. And you hold the chair until somebody else gets to sit in the chair. So we're talking about the debate. We're switching it up. I'm gonna head back down to Atlanta. Kanika, can you tell us a little bit? It's always different when you live in the place where the thing is going down. When you live there, talk to me about it. Talk to me about what's going on down there and how you feel.
So you know what? I think living in Atlanta, and I live in the suburbs, but I'm 20 minutes outside of the city. I think living in Atlanta is always an interesting experience, right? Because we are a minority majority city in a Republican state, right? Mm-hmm. So we're a Democratic city in a Republican state. And so, Fulton County is highly Democratic. To be candid, is clearly, predominantly Black. Bonnie Willis is our DA. Our sheriff is, also Democratic. And so it's going to be an interesting ride to see how this all plays out. Of course, Mark Meadows is looking to remove the federal court. Of course, Giuliani and Trump will, because they think they have a better chance, right? Let's just call a spade a spade. It's too many Black people in Fulton County for them.
Hey.
They're hoping that that jury pool reflects more MAGA and less, Lil John. And so we're gonna have a space where, the question is really, does the will of the people matter, right? Because the reality is that Fonnie Willis was able to bring this indictment because the crime was committed against the citizens of Fulton County.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Right? So does the Constitution matter? Does our state constitution matter? Does federalism matter? Does our democracy matter? The crime was committed here, right? It wasn't random. It was that the then president, or actually wasn't president no more, but I guess he was, because Biden hadn't been sworn in, called our Secretary of State, called our elected official, and tried to steal votes. Like, this is an actual thing. And does it matter that the people of Fulton County's votes were almost stolen? And if that matters, then this case will stay in state court. Now, let's be real. There were definitely, I saw the things on social media, I saw the messages. There were definitely people outside of the courtroom that were told to come and bring their flags and their Trump supporters and support. Can I say if those people, were south of I-20? Probably not, right? They probably drove in from outstanding counties. Georgia is a battleground state and will continue to be a battleground state. What grassroots organizers know, and I've knocked on doors, I've made those calls, organizers know that when people of color in the state of Georgia show up, Democrats win, right? Yes. When people of color sit home because we don't think that this country actually believes in us as much as we believe in it, right? Then we decide that we got other things to do on election day. And so it's going to really be a bellwether of whether democracy actually matters, and whether the court system only applies to people of color, whether it applies to nation as a whole. We keep hearing over and over again, nobody's above the law, but the reality is Black folks know that's not true. Lots of people have been above the law in our reality. And so this is kind of, so I think there's an interesting anticipation in the city of Atlanta right now. We want to see how this plays out.
I also want to clear up something.
Hold on, Damon, for a second. Let me just ask this. I'm going to pull it apart from last night's debate. Raise your hand if...
Are we all grade school kids? No.
So, okay, no, I'm going to shift completely. Let's go back. So who won? Because if Chris Christie's not good enough, if Nikki Haley is too qualified, if Tim Scott is still not likable enough, if Ramaswamy is still too out there, he was so disappointing because, like, are you really just going to be like up Trump's butt? Like, seriously?
Yeah. This is I was in when I was in high school, I was on the debate team, and so this is not exactly Lincoln Douglas at all. No, this is not. When we talk about who won, it is far from anything objective. The only thing that can be said is who achieved what they set out to achieve. Right. The Vivek, that's just his name. He set out, he needed to be seen, he was seen.
Yes.
And everybody attacked him. To me, it was a huge show of cowardice. I can't even really say strategically good, because where does that get you? I mean, you're the vice president of the United States attacking a no-name. You're Chris Christie attacking somebody that you were supposed to be focused on Trump, but you're attacking this other guy. He brought up Trump, but whatever. Asa, I mean, everybody, and Nikki got into him a little bit, said that he had no foreign policy experience, and it showed.
He doesn't, though.
So he doesn't. And he was the most irrelevant person up there. All he did, he was 38 years old saying, we need a new generation to come in and do whatever. But there again, when you talk about the Republican Party, they're all style, no substance. So what they'll do is put a face of somebody to say the exact same thing as somebody else and swear it's like, look, we have one too. He even tried to play the Obama card.
Yes, I was just about to bring it up.
Name. I'm like, do you want to be Obama? That's the wrong. Okay, whatever. But no, who won? I can't really say who won. Trump won. And that's what it was. Because all It's everybody kissing
Trump
his
won.
butt and would not. So Trump won.
Trump won because you could totally see if I was, I mean, I can't even speak these words, but if I was a Republican, I would literally look at it and be like, I don't want to vote for any of these idiots. I can't. I mean, Trump won by default. He literally didn't even have to speak at a debate and still won the debate. I mean, that right there is going to be taught in a political science class. I mean, I agree with Damon. I think the better question is, do people achieve what they meant to achieve? Again, I continue to bring up Ron DeSantis' spectacular implosion. He was the heir apparent to some extent. And, you know, once you pull back the curtain a little bit, even the base is like, we can't stand this guy. Like, what is he doing?
I feel like everybody
is
strong, though. Everybody's just so strong. I
want to say this about DeSantis. He offended me. And this is just the military side of me coming out right here, right? He kept, and this may be other people that were in the military that sees it too, because we don't really talk about this whole lot. We don't see it. There's a thing called stolen valor, where you have people who pretend to have served in certain units. So I was Army. If I ran around saying, oh, I was with Special Forces and Delta Force and did all of this and that, that'd be stolen valor because I was never in those units. What DeSantis did, DeSantis was a JAG lawyer. Lawyers do not do combat. But what he tried to do was make himself Navy SEAL adjacent. He's hit twice. He was talking about, I deployed with Navy SEALs and we were in combat zones. Like, no, buddy. Okay, first of all, you were probably in an office because you are a lawyer. I'm a lawyer, so I get it, right? But I wasn't JAG. You were not operational. You were not a trigger puller. You were not doing the things that Navy SEALs do. You were not Black Hawk Down. So even though he didn't say I was a Navy SEAL, he made himself so close that people who don't pay attention and don't recognize it would associate him as such. And thus, you know, it's a thing that people in the military, we absolutely hate, and can't get you punched out in a bar.
I got a sense of that last night. I didn't, and I don't know much about him.
He was not a Navy SEAL. He was not. He was a lawyer. He was in an office. He wrote briefs. He did not put out the C4. He was not diving into no. So trying to claim that valor or be so close to it that people, it's hard to distinguish. No, that is one of the most dishonorable things you can ever do. And if he wants to be commander-in-chief of the military, he should at least take that seriously. So no.
So what about this? I was so shocked that all but Asa, if I'm correct, said that they would pardon. Do these people, like, are we not watching the same America? Because that man planned an insurrection, a criminal organization, yes, across the country.
Right.
And tried to, you know, overtake the government. Okay, now I'm gonna speak. Y'all gonna speak with all y'all lawyers.
Okay, I got you on this. Are we living in the same America? The answer is no. So every day I'm in the gym and we have multiple screens up. Two of the screens, I have CNN and Fox News right next to each other, right? And I am literally watching at the same time what both of them are talking about. So this is what I know for a fact with Fox. I see it every day for hours at a time. They're talking about Hunter Biden. Right. They talk about immigration to the extent it, you know, in the sense of a criminal experience, and you see them talking about it even in the debates where they wanted to militarize the line, the border. So they talk about immigration in the sense of a national security issue, or they talk about crime or whatever white male grievance they have, older white male grievance that they have in the moment. When you look at CNN is talking about things that are a little bit more relevant. They're showing you stuff about, you know, the indictment. You see the briefs, you know, and all of that. You're looking at an extremely uninformed group of people versus an informed group of people, and then expecting them to have a conversation, and you cannot, because there are not even the shared set of facts.
And that's what that was my point about these 50 states. And are we going to be having we're not having the same conversation across the country. Not when California all of a sudden got a doggone a hurricane, tropical cyclone, right? Yep. But it's burning on the other side of the country, right?
I
People,
mean,
it's
not to get super deep on it, but the reality is when we, all of us are in the same ballpark of age. I grew up where there was what, three news channels, right? ABC,
yes,
NBC, CBS, maybe some other, and there was a requirement for journalists to fact check. When we moved to two things, the cult of personality for president, right? This is why I point out Nikki Haley was boring and Ron DeSantis is boring. The bottom line is the base isn't looking for who's the best leader. They're looking for who they like, right? So once we move to the George Bush's, you want to have a beer, we need to like our president, not necessarily believe that they're qualified or that they're the best for the job. We need to like him, which is a 20th century media creation. But once we move to that, and the second part we move to where basically you don't have to be a journalist. You just have to be a person with an opinion who's personable, right? So then we get a base, and to be fair, this base exists both on the Democratic side and the Republican side, of people who all they care about is that person on television telling them, feeding their echo chamber, right? We're not looking for facts. So to your question, Najima, are we all in these 50 states? We could literally have 50 different, leading media centers and 100, depending on what people are listening to. Then you exponentially create that with Sirius and whatever. People are
right.
not working from the same set of facts.
No.
We're not. The absolute different spin will be on the mugshot from Fox today to the podcast that'll come out tomorrow to wherever base. And once you start feeding into the fear, whatever that fear is, whether that fear is immigration and they're coming to take your country, whether that fear is fear of a black woman, just to put a twist on Public Enemy, whatever the fear is, and whether you're Democrats, they're coming to attack your wounds. We've moved from any sort of fact-based conversation to a fear-mongering space of how we're going to get people to be on our side. So no, we are not all speaking from the same level of facts. You used to say you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not your own facts. Heck, people make up their own facts now. And then we add in, and it's going to your point, Najima, it's going to be really interesting to see what this next election cycle looks like now that we've added in, and not to go down the rabbit hole, the concept, we already know deep fakes and deep state, but we've added in the concept of AI, right? We can now create what candidates say. We can create what they look like. We can create entire concepts. I mean, GPT literally spits out lies, and it's fine, right? Nobody's going to
call
question
it
that.
hallucinations. They refer to them sometimes as. Have you read the terms of? I've read the terms, people. I've read the terms. I've read the terms. I've read the terms.
There's also
people don't care anymore. We're looking to be entertained, right? The Gladiator, are you not entertained? We're not looking to be educated. We're not looking to be informed. We are looking to be entertained, right? We know that if we're not getting our information in a way that is flashy, that is keeping our attraction, that is quick, that is a soundbite, if we're not getting it in a water cooler kind of way, we don't care. We don't. I mean, seriously, like it's a bad Truman Show episode. We could the aliens could literally attack tomorrow, and we would not care unless they came on TikTok. We wouldn't know. We wouldn't care. So when you ask if people care about the fact that climate change is absolutely ravaging California, not when you spin it as, well, 400 million years ago, California didn't exist. So is it so bad that there's rain? I mean, you can spin anything these days, right? You can tell the story and however, and since everything, we used to literally be able to agree, I'm old enough to remember, we used to literally be able to agree on a concept of integrity. I told my daughter tonight, because we were watching the mugshot, and I honestly, genuinely said to her, I am incredibly sad for your generation. Whatever I ever thought about the presidents, Republican, Democrats, liked or didn't like, it never would have occurred to me that one of them would have been arrested with a mugshot. I just didn't have a concept that our president could get arrested. Even in our concept of Nixon, my thought would have been, if they did something wrong, they would have enough hubris and they would have enough respect for the oath, for the office, that they would resign. The concept to me that our president would be so such a disregard for all of our institutions. Again, Republican, and it makes me sad for her generation that their faith in our whatever institutions America has is going to be so low that I wonder where we end up in 20 years, in 30 years. We've literally had this man basically put holes in the bedrock of whether these institutions matter.
Yes.
So
The Supreme
the thing
Court,
is,
all of it.
the word that I like to use,
Save democracy.
the word I like to use very often is the Alabamification of America. And I never really got a chance to sit down with you all and tell you how that works. But let me break this down. At one point, very recently, Alabama's governor, the Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court, and the House Speaker were all under indictment at the exact same time. That Mike Hubbard was the House Speaker, and don't you know he won his reelection? When Doug Jones, and when we talk about the Chief Justice, that was Roy Moore. Roy Moore was an accused pedophile, and in the middle of the election, the governor Kay Ivey said, "I believe the victim, that you molested her when she was a child, but I still support you." And that was running against when he was in his Senate campaign against what's his name? Doug Jones, the Democrat. Doug Jones, his background, he graduated from my law school. That's how I ever got a chance to meet him. That, and he was a Democrat, and I ran in political circles at the time. Doug Jones was one of the people who prosecuted one of the Klansmen who blew up 16th Street Baptist Church and killed the 4 little girls. And he narrowly won against the pedophile there that people knew was a pedophile. What's that say about your state? Then afterwards, when he ran for his reelection, Doug Jones, when he ran for his reelection, he lost to Tommy Tuberville. Who is Tommy Tuberville? His grand experience in politics was he used to coach football. So in Alabama, they said, "Oh, okay, well, you coach football, and obviously this man didn't. I promise you, he did not know. He could not pass a civics exam if they still had that in high schools. He couldn't do any. He didn't know the structure of government. He didn't know what the House versus the Senate does. He didn't know any of that. But Alabama sure voted for him, and now he's in there. He was part of the people that he was in touch with, what's his name, with Donald Trump during the insurrection. And now he's one of the people holding up all the promotions. Why about 3 of our military branches can't have leadership because of him. But I bet you they will put him back in office. When I talk about the Alabamification of America, this that you're seeing is typical for the state. Jeff Sessions, it was a former senator, and was part of the Trump administration. Jeff Sessions is the first senator to endorse Donald Trump when he was running for the presidency, and then he became the AG after that. Yes, Alabama gave you Donald Trump. Yes, they did. The kind of ignorance that you see in the state of Alabama is the kind that is being exported across this country. And what makes it worse is that it does impact the world. Because they don't know how to do it.
How is that going to continue to happen when the browning of America? How is that going to continue to happen? Tell me.
How does that happen?
How is it going? Because it seems like those two things.
But you say the browning of America as if adding more people of color means that we add more people of color with power, right? It means exactly. It means as if we somehow. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but what I have said many, many, many times about overturning a Roe v. Wade is overturning a Roe v. Wade only affects poor people, right? People with means, predominantly not people of color, will continue to get abortions. They just won't get them at a clinic. They'll get them in a doctor's office. I literally just read I don't know if it was a New York Times or a Guardian article about a 12-year-old in Mississippi who just gave birth, right? 12-year-old Black girl in Mississippi who was raped in her front yard who just gave birth. Mississippi has a rape exception, but her mama didn't know that Mississippi has a racist exception. There's not a 12-year-old in in Park Avenue in New York that's having a baby. That's not happening, right? Because her parents or means would never let their child's future be impacted by that. And so my point is adding more brown people, whether those are Latinx people, Black people, people from the African diaspora, if we're not adding more Black people who have access to education, because we're going to talk about the skyrocketing costs of college, the skyrocketing cost of student loans, skyrocketing cost of medical insurance. If we're not adding more brown people who have access to means, education, and opportunity, then we're really continuing to create a poverty class that adding more Black people doesn't add more political power in spaces, right? It doesn't change the people who make those decisions. And what we have seen, and I want Elle to chime in here, what we've seen at the state levels is, to Daniel's point, Republicans been playing chess while we've been playing not even checkers. We're not even playing hopscotch. We're playing something else, right? They have literally gamed the system out so that your school boards, as we look at Florida and the cancellation of any sort of slavery was not good for slaves, right? As we look at school board systems, as we look at state AGs, as we look at the things that affect people on a local level. I mean, listen, they tried to get rid of cash bail in states and places people wanted to riot. Cash bail only oppresses people in poverty. Again, these don't affect those who have needs. So adding more numbers of Black and brown people without adding more access to opportunity and educational and economic doesn't change our
They've shown us they know
calculus.
how to control the masses. They've shown us they know how to control the masses. So
And
it
that's
don't, it don't
And
matter.
then I don't know, back to your point. I mean, I watched the Trump show today being and let me tell you, there were quite a few Black people out there, right? I don't know whether they were paid or whether they were, loyalists at heart. I'm not even gonna question anybody's beliefs, but what I'm saying is at some point Trump has convinced the millionaire, not a billionaire, he's a liar, but Trump, the real estate mogul, convinced mostly white poor people that he was their savior. I mean, if that's not grift, I don't know what to tell you. The point is we have had politicians who are capable of convincing us to vote against our own interests because they look right like they are out there for our benefit. Never mind they're only enriching themselves, but there are plenty of politicians that manage. I mean, David talked about Tommy Tuberville. I mean, let's talk about Alabama's average GDP, right? The average income, median income for most people. You think Tommy Tuberville represents your interest? Really? Let's talk about the Medicaid expansion in Alabama. But these same politicians, as you said, have taught us not just how to control the masses, but we're going to show you this over here. We're going to make you feel like what you should really care about when you go to the ballot is that immigration might take your job. Y'all don't even want them jobs. You don't even want the jobs that immigrants are doing, but you want to, but that's why we'll rile you up. So you won't notice that your grandmama can't get Medicaid for her diabetes, right? So that won't make you angry. So it won't make you angry that, I'm saying, you are below the poverty line, but you still can't manage to both, or forget below poverty. Let's say you're a middle class person. You can't both buy a house and buy eggs, right? So you won't fight about that, but you're going to be really, really mad about whether something is happening on a border that's literally 1,000 miles away. That's what we're going to rile you up about.
And
it's smoke and mirrors.
And so where I find, because I always agree with Kanika, that's my girl. The only weakness in her argument, in her whole argument, was that she's handicapped by the need to make sense, and these people.
It's
These people are not. So they are animated. Like we're trying to look at it as rational people. These people are animated purely by their whiteness. They just want their whiteness guarded. They will starve to death as long as they get to stay white. When we look at these gun laws and everything else, it's been my theory. I think I've shared it with you all before. I'll share it again. It's been my theory that in today's incarnation, post-Obama, I say his name on purpose, post-Obama, this obsession with guns is all about they want to be white. and they want to make sure that you know that this black man wasn't going to take your guns, or these black adjacent Democrats, because not all Democrats are black, right? But they're black adjacent. So they are concerned about protecting and expressing their whiteness. They are not going to be controlled by this black man. And thinking of it in those terms, same terms that brought them into the Civil War, where they're willing to die to enslave other people, and that they can't even afford slaves, but they're going to enslave you.
Right.
Why would you get your arm blown off, your leg blown off? Why would you die? Why would you put yourself in a position where General Sherman has to march 60 miles from Atlanta to Savannah and declare scorched earth, total warfare, and destroy everything that he himself couldn't keep? Why would you put yourself in that position? How about this? What would justify all these little children, including your own babies, being killed by guns, and you won't do anything about it? What's more important than the life of a child to you? Your whiteness. And that's how they've been for so long, and that's how they are now. So the mentality isn't so much how can I make a come up? Black people want to make a come up. Latino people want to make a come up. Asian people want to make a come up. But what these people are talking about is they want you to not have, and they will deprive themselves of something just to prevent you from having it. And if they feel like you ain't got it, then they just made it come up. It's a whole reverse mentality.
It's so twisted. I can't understand it. So, it hurts my brain to think about it.
Think about all this stuff, because these folks ain't different from anybody, like biologically or intellectually different from people in Europe or whatever. And folks in Europe have specific needs. We're not going to get into how they are able to finance it. We know that there's a lot that happen to that, but it's the simple fact that they want it. They want those social safety nets, and then they get over here and they act like, oh, we don't need that. This thing about, the government can't do this, because my school, Cumberland, was extremely Republican. That's all I ever heard, is the government can't do. But it's this whole different mentality where they're saying what's good for me and my profits is therefore good for everybody. And I'm like, no, that's extremely, that's extremely selfish. When everything you say about government is what government can't do right, I look at it like this, as I've told them. You've never seen a star quarterback who hates football. You ain't never seen anybody who's a great point guard and hates basketball. So how do you, or somebody that hates math and science but want to be a great doctor? How do you then take that same mentality and say, I hate government, and then I want to run for stuff? I want to be your representative. Oh, I hate the government. Government can't do anything right, because they tear the whole institution down. They still tear it down. So they will continuously tear down something that can actually build up a nation, because it might not only build up the nation, but like Kennedy said, a rising tide lifts all boats. They don't want to see your boat rise, so they will sink every boat, including theirs, just so we can all drown and prove the point that the rising tide didn't save everybody. It's ignorant, but it's what they do.
All right. Thank you, Damon. I'm going to shoot over to Elle for a second. I'm just going to give you a chance to step in, and it's coming across the 10 o'clock hour. People got work and stuff. My text messages, my phone is on life support, and yeah. But I'm just happy that what I wanted was achieved tonight. Some people came in and had a good conversation. Elle, I'm going to let you share whatever you'd like based on your personal and or professional perspective as we sort of wrap up. And then, girl, we're going to stay on a little bit later so we can kiki and talk about Real Housewives.
Okay.
Talk to me.
So I will say Kanika kind of hit the nail on the head earlier when she brought up education. And it being a huge part of this election and this political climate that we're in. Erasing history is what is really helping these, sort of extreme right-wing Republicans right now. Thinking about Florida and how they essentially made College Board change the AP curriculum for African American history. And if memory serves me correctly, I still don't think that Florida is allowing AP African American history to be taught this upcoming school year. And for those that don't know, I am an educator in my real life. Um, I went to the College Board conference, one of the conferences that they held earlier this year. And initially, when I signed up to go, I was very excited to hear what they were going to say regarding African American history. And in the opening session, the CEO came on stage, and sort of one of the first comments that he made was, not to paraphrase, was, "We did not change the curriculum because of Florida." And the room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop, because it was like, you sure about that?
Right. We don't believe you. You need more people.
You said it, not me. So I, as an educator, as a history buff, um, it's really sad that, to me, that people's insecurities, um, people's fear of not wanting to face what happened in this country, is really, like, I just feel sad for the generation that's coming up. If they don't have people in their lives to really teach them about the things that happened in this country.
That's the truth right there. That's the truth. Wow. We started off talking about the debate and it became so much more. This is the forecast. It is my public affairs program where I come on and talk about it. Tonight, the hot button topics were the debate, which happened, which, one could or could not have watched. According to my host, I guess, like you could have just watched the sound bites and
You didn't miss
saw
anything.
like Miss Christie be a bully and Ron DeSantis puff up and Vivek talk to the camera. I'm surprised he didn't start rapping. You know, I mean, I am carefully watching Tim Scott. That's all I gotta say. And all I gotta say is it's still early. So, Kanika, please tell us whether you want to focus on the debate or you want to focus on Atlanta. Give us some of your thoughts right now.
So I'll be honest, I think all roads lead through Atlanta. And I'm not saying that
Mhm.
just because I live here. I'm saying that because, I don't think it's an understatement to say that whether this country heals from Trump is really based in whether we continue to pander to the division. And let's be real, the division started long before Trump. I'm not even giving him that power. But what I will say is that he has exposed the naked truth of this country, which is that we have to genuinely decide, and honestly, intentionally decide whether we really believe this country is liberty and justice for all, as we have
Woo!
tapestried off on, we've added on maybe black people are including that all, we've added on maybe women are including that all, we've added on
Show
whether,
and
Asian
prove.
people are
Show
right. So
and
are we
prove.
right? Are we really the nation that we strive to be? Or are we the nation that honestly we probably were in 1776, where we were like, this only really applies to rich white men. That's really all we write in this constitution for. And the rest of y'all
Yes.
gotta get in where you fit in. And so if that's really who we are, then I think I think the prosecution of Trump will show it, right? Will a federal judge, as we've seen in Florida, be sympathetic to Trump's plight and say, okay, you can remove this case and take it out of the hands of the people in the city of Atlanta, right? Of Fulton County, more so. Will we have a jury that's 11 people, votes convict, and that one says, I don't know, I'm still a Trump. What do we really believe about that country? And so I genuinely believe that the indictment and the conviction, the trial of Trump is going to really show whether we are ready to move forward as tattered as we are, or whether we really, are going to have to ask if we believe in the soul of this nation.
I'm gonna ask both you and Damon. Elle, we'll talk later. Do you have a particular book that you've read that you'd like to maybe highlight? There's so many things that I'm hearing that I might be able to suggest. Damon, be quiet for a second, brother. Just hold on.
I'm going through the library in my head.
He's chomping at the bit, brother. We'll do a whole book discography tomorrow if you want to, brother. I'm asking
Well,
her.
Damon's got a list. Damon has got a list.
I know Damon has sent me books from the. I'm taking notes. He sent me briefs, girl. He sent me briefs at 7 a.m. I was on the phone with my boo. I was like, I am not reading briefs. I didn't even go to law school.
I know he does actually pull up the brief. Well, you know what? Like Elle, I mean, it's my back wall is blurry, but one of the pictures on my back wall is actually a picture. I took a class with Justice Scalia, and while Justice Scalia rest in peace, and I may not have ideologically agreed. What I will say is, like Elle, I'm a historian, and I do actually believe in this country. And it's made me really sad to see what's happened recently. I think that there are some amazing historians that speak to where we had the opportunity to form a more perfect nation. Now, the reality is our nation is made up of human beings, and we are inherently flawed. But this construct that we have created of race and class, and this thought that basically, back to her point, the reality is that what holds us back, what handicaps us as a nation, is that somebody's got to be on the bottom. Capitalism requires that someone be on the bottom. And we created a nation where that somebody on the bottom was created there because of a construct of race. And that is the fallacy that the white people in this country can't let go of. And so they will defend it to their death. They will throw the entire baby out, the bathwater, the tub, all of it. And so I think if we can return back to where we actually had ideals, and there are tons of historian books that actually speak to that. If we could get people to get back to buying into, is this a union we want? Because I mean, again, as a historian, the United States has only been around for 300 years. That's really not a long time on the tapestry of history. It really isn't. There are civilizations we've forgotten that were here 3 times, 4 times as much. I mean, literally, that we don't even remember the names of this. And so if we are investing, I mean, you highlighted earlier, forget what we may or may not be doing to the planet, like not to forget it, but that's a whole different conversation that requires some sort of global cooperation. But just this country, we are not that difficult to take over. We're not. It's not. The other countries that have been proven. Russia exploits our divisions on a regular basis with deep state fakes. It's not that difficult. So at some point, we have to come to some version of a collective. And this doesn't matter who's the president, who's not the president, but a collective that we care about our children's futures, and we really want to invest in the longevity of what this could look like.
So, do you know which presidential candidate or hopeful whose message you sound like? I mean,
I'm just not. I wonder. I am a huge, obviously, like most people, Obama fan. Michelle is also on my wall. I wonder, however, if it was lightning in a bottle. I do. I wonder if we were in a different space where we were more open to being able to see hope, to be able to see that things could be different. I think we've created a generation of cynics who don't believe in the institutions that got us here. And so and it doesn't even have to be the same institutions, but either we've got to be real honest. I mean, I look at the not just the House. I think it was a dark day for America when the Senate decided not to impeach, and not because I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but because I think they violated their constitutional duty. Mm-hmm. I think they looked at their constitutional oath and they chose party over what they were required to do by law and by what they swore to do, and they chose their party over it. And I don't know how we get back from that.
Still lost. So I wanted to ask you about a book, but you gave me a much richer answer. So thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I'm gonna ask Damon Oh wow, brother. Like I
You
said,
might have to put it in the chat. Then might have to put it on
yeah.
your where
So
I'm gonna do one book. I'm gonna do one book.
okay, one.
let me say two, and then I'm gonna let you have one. So in this conversation, I'm a big fan of the Clint Smith book, How the Word is Passed. I feel like that it needs to be required reading for all of America. Okay, and that was a good book, and so was Hell of a Book. So read that too. But I also in our conversation, I'm hearing echoes of how of Cast and the Warmth of Other Suns. I won't say Cast because I didn't read Cast, but the Warmth of Other Suns. So, brother,
Yeah,
talk to me. Talk to me, brother.
I read Cast, and I was gonna say that's one of them that I had on my mind. I'm so glad you said it, so I don't have to do it. I said I was gonna limit myself to one book, and so I'm gonna go with the one that's the most relevant, one that kept coming to mind throughout this discussion. And I forgot the name of the author. It just won't come to mind right now.
Okay.
But the name of it is The Political Brain. And if I haven't already talked about it with you all before, but we have, I'm on being broadcast now. So the political brain looks at takes everything from the standpoint of science, neuroscience, and so forth about why people think the way that they think in terms of politics. And it's the first time that I started to understand a little bit about some of the distinctions that you're seeing. And this book was written pre-Trump, pre-Obama. I think it's pre-Obama, but anyway, the premise of the book, one of the things it points out is that we can look at things logically and be moved by facts, or we can be moved by emotions, and so when you look at the example being used was Gore, Al Gore versus George Bush, and that Al Gore struggled to move the electorate and connect with the electorate because Al Gore had this weird need to make sense and have information and facts and stats and all this stuff, all the things that you would expect an educated person to have. He had it. But then you're dealing with an electorate that was moved by this idea of, oh, this other guy is the one I can have a beer with, as opposed to thinking, can this person lead? George Bush was good at making those emotional connections. And for some reason, and it does get into it, by virtue of evolution, humans are given to their emotions, and emotions can override thought, just even as a survival tactic, like if there's a tiger in the woods and you don't know, and you hear some rustling, your emotions will say, run. And then your intellect would say, well, maybe it's just the wind. Let me go and investigate, and at that point, you don't need to be logical. So it's telling you, hey, your brain is built to allow your emotions to take over. And so in politics, that's what you see a lot in your electorate. And the man who managed to kind of thread the needle was Bill Clinton, who was both a genius and was good with people. So he was able to start off with an emotional premise and emotional appeal, and then deeper into the speeches, he would get more into facts and stats and so forth. And then towards the end, he's pulling back out and going back to the emotions and the things that connect with people. He figured out how to do both. And so he was successful in that way. But I thought that it's very much so informative about how different people, how we can look at our electorate, the entire U.S. population, and keep coming to the same, different conclusions, and how we're always so different because we think differently. And we have one party, the Democratic Party, that likes to appeal to facts, and the Republican Party that likes to appeal to emotions. I will stop on that one book. I could do more, but I promised I would stop. And that was the one that was in my head the most throughout this conversation.
Wow. I think you put me on to that in our most recent conversation, and I thank you for that. I thank you for everything. Good brother, Mr. Damon Watson, Esquire, sitting in the Dr. Henry Fashion Smart Brother chair. Okay, you might have to win that chair.
I will say very quickly. I mean, I could list a bunch of political books, and I've actually read the political brain. But the thing I think that people really need to watch, it actually gets chronicled by books like I'm a big sci-fi person. Octavia Butler's Parable of the Talents. One of the things that's going to be really a concern, and it's a concern for me, is how resources get allocated in the next 20 to 30 years. The scarcity mindset between climate change and economics. I mean, listen, we just went through COVID, right? And we watched how quickly society can devolve on toilet paper. Toilet paper. People are literally
Yes.
ready to shoot each other for toilet paper.
Privatization of our services.
It doesn't take much for our social contract where we all voluntarily participate in the society and laws to be broken. And all it takes is for people to feel that they are not going to have access to a resource.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, people still have basements full of toilet paper. You can only use one roll at a time. It shows how fragile our society is. And as you said, you talked about California. So once you look at how human behavior is when, and trust me, to Damon's point, the Republicans exploit that on. So whatever the fear button is, whether it's, even immigration, if you're not in a border state, doesn't push that button as much because you feel like they're over there. Toilet paper is a very real fear for people, right? And so as we look at how, in states that never had tornadoes, they're having tornadoes. Schools are being have been shut down for extreme weather, for whether it's snow, whether it's wind, whatever. When we look at Texas had brownout, they went out of power. Those are the things that, as we look at, there's tons of climate change books, but those are the things you want to watch, because what it's going to show is how the haves and the have-nots start to rise up against the haves. Because once you get to a basic necessity, people lose any semblance of wanting to choose to participate in society.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to thank you all so much for just hopping on and making all of everything, pop tonight. This was a great combo. I enjoyed it. So much. Latoya and I are going to stay on. Excuse me, LG.
Yeah, you guys. Well, listen, I'll have to tune in later and see what I haven't watched the Real Housewives, but I'm always interested in other people's recaps about it. So.
Oh yes. Oh,
Thank you for the invite, Najima. This
you
is
are
awesome.
welcome, and I will be seeing you later, and I'll be having you on again. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Kanika. Thank you, Damon, brother. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
You will. Have a great night, everybody.
All right, take care, y'all.
Be well.
All right. So, my bad, brother. I just threw him out there. Yeah. So, let me move us back for a second. So, we're highlighting, because I'm about to start watching, I'm going to recap. I'm going to watch the season over, starting tonight.
Yes, for And Just Like That.
Huh?
You're going to rewatch And Just Like That?
That too. No, I'm gonna rewatch Housewives, girl. Atlanta.
Yes. So
before the season finale.
Yes. So first of all, you have me up past my bedtime. I just want to put that out there to the people.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. It is late. I'm tired.
It's fine. But I will say, so why didn't I watch it on Sunday?
It's always something. It's always something.
I know. I was out in these streets Sunday. Where was I?
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I don't remember, which is bad because I'm not that old. It might still be COVID brain. But so I watched it this week. First of all, aside from Sheree's elaborate ass party about for Mecca, can we talk about, there are so many things where I was looking at my TV
What's going on with her nose?
I'm sorry?
Her nose. Why did it look so extra?
Girl, I'm not even talking about her nose. I'm talking about...
I know, but that's the one thing that really...
No, girl. I am talking about her ex-husband and his secret child. His extra child.
Yeah, that was so completely...
There's so many things where I was staring at my TV what the F? So the first thing is that this child, she's a full ass adult. That's the first.
For real.
And she's a whole grown ass woman. And And what's his name? Bob.
Uh,
Bob never told Sheree about the child. That's the first thing.
one.
The
Then,
second, right. The second thing is that their children together knew about her and have been
so
around
that's a secret they had to keep together.
multiple times. And they never told their mother.
Mama.
They never told their mother about their extra sibling.
How?
Houseway.
Why are we still doing that in
Houseway.
2023?
Right. And then number 3,
Ooh.
the nonchalance of Sheree's reaction, which fully makes me believe that this was scripted for television.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Because and the thing is, before we do that, my thing is that does Sheree's nonchalance, is it equivalent to the fact that she's no longer Bob's wife? And it's like, hey, you know what? We're divorced. I have moved on. I got fine ass Martell sitting next to me. I kind of don't care that you have this extra child that you never told me about. However, I know me, LG from SC, if I had been married to this man for over 20 years, regardless of how long we had been divorced, you had this extra ass child, but also had my children around this girl and never told me.
Lying to me.
Like my children, the people I brought into this world. Like, which makes me really think that shit was scripted, bruh. Just gonna put it out there.
I won't call that into question by far, because who knows what's going on with this. I'm so confused, and I need to have someone to talk to us about what's going on reality TV versus
Carlos. Well, Carlos doesn't work on Atlanta anymore. Do you think we need a producer from Atlanta to come on?
We can certainly try. Somebody. I'm just trying to figure out how this, because I have talked mad stuff about these people, and not necessarily reality stars, but like this whole writer strike, because I have a different perspective. I'll just say make another Hove, and that might not mean anything to anybody, and even from the lyric, what it means to me is, if you are the asset, make your money, boo boo.
Right. Listen, Sheree gonna make her coin. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I also put this statement out there too?
Okay.
There is nothing that anyone can say to make me think that Drew, Sedora, and LaToya did not share a kiss in Charleston. I'm just gonna put that out there. I'm with Candy.
Was it Charleston, or was it it was Charleston?
Oh no, it's Isle of Palms.
Well, no, either way, it wasn't more recent. I thought it had been more recent.
No. It's when they went to Isle of Palms for Cynthia's little bachelorette, and they had Bolo.
Smashing Bolo then. Was it
No, so supposedly Portia smashed Bolo.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. Because they made it a little ambiguous in the last video. I was like, I thought it was Portia, but they didn't know.
Yes, Portia smashed Bolo, but supposedly Toya and Drew shared a kiss. And now Drew is like, I didn't kiss her. You did.
How can she be such an instigating drama queen?
She's trying to keep her coin. She's trying to stay on the show. Drew needs a check. Like, let's check,
because I don't.
Right. And
is she really being anything but her game character? Like, is that just it? Is that just it?
In the TLC story. You stayed in the corner, friend. You staying in the corner. I mean, she did.
Album. She played a singer and ain't even had the album till now. Look, I don't want to talk bad about the girl.
Or is it an EP?
Or whatever.
I'm sorry, I was being petty. But no, for real. Like I also, speaking as Drew, her first season on the show, I was like, why are you referencing the game in the credits? When first of all, you were only on the game for one season and you were a guest star at that. You weren't even the main character.
How was
You
she
like
supposed to
I'm
be
still mad
famous?
at you
I didn't know who she was.
and girl Melanie. I'm still mad at her for that. I'm still mad at her. Sorry.
We hold a lot of stuff from the game, yo. We hold a lot of stuff in our heart from that.
That was my shit.
Watch that, girl. And then I'm watching her reruns, and I went and made. I was gonna see Rick Fox now.
Listen, Rick Fox is still a fox, okay? He's still fine
Yeah.
to this day, okay?
Woo!
Till this day.
I didn't think the brother was gonna have a career, but hey, you know.
Listen, that is the epitome of keeping it going and reinventing yourself.
Hey, I'm with it 100%.
Same.
You said fame, and I'm thinking fame. Sorry.
Oh. No, same.
Okay, so tell me, give us 30 seconds on camera about Beyonce.
So Beyonce is amazing. And what I will say is that as someone who has been a fan since Destiny's Child, one, but also who I feel like I have really been a fan of Beyonce since she went solo. Like I purchased her first solo album and have seen her when I saw her in Atlanta. That was my fourth time seeing her perform live.
Wow.
And it's just amazing to see someone continue to outdo themselves.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the only thing I can say. Like you're just seeing somebody continue to outdo themselves. That's all.
Oh, but yeah, I will agree with you on that. It's like amazing just to see, like, and you know, I think I'm a pretty creative person, so when I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. You know, take it up there and take it up there and take it up there, and then that's why I'm not even like mad at the, you know, like when she pretty much bit Fosse, but then the show is like,
The visuals are amazing.
yeah,
The visuals are amazing.
girl. I remember when this is one of the. I don't speak this brother's name ever again, but he surprised me with the Beyonce album. And I'm not even like a fan like that, but he knew every girl wanted a Beyonce album. So I got that Beyonce album, and it was a surprise, and it was, you know, so that. And then let me tell you this other story about Beyonce, because I really would like to see her. Hint, hint, in Houston. Hint, hint. I'd like to see Beyonce.
Is somebody listening? Are you sending subliminal messages to a certain someone?
I said it last night clearly that I wanted to go
okay.
to Wednesday in Houston. That's what I wanted. But I also gave the dates for my trip to Paris.
To see Usher?
Oh, I wish.
Okay. Usher tickets go on sale tomorrow.
He'll be in Paris?
Well, his tickets to Paris have been on sale because he's Paris in September. But you know he extended his residency for November and December.
Yeah, you told me that
last week. The regular sale starts tomorrow. And I hope to get tickets tomorrow because I was unable to secure the tickets I wanted during the pre-sale.
So you are going again?
I would like to. I want to sit closer.
We had good seats. I'll tell you where we were.
Well, we sat where you told us to sit, but I want to be closer. Like I want him to skate by me or walk past me when he goes.
I hear you. I could see that.
I want to touch Usher Raymond IV.
Girl, okay, I don't want to say I want to do that. Well, actually, I did. Let me tell you, he was shining. Girl, he was shining.
Listen, so I also saw Usher at the and my wine sister and I were in VIP silver. And for those that are not
Oh,
familiar
you
with the
said silver, not sober. Okay.
silver, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Silver, like gold, platinum, silver.
Yeah, yeah.
So the way the stage is set up,
Uh-huh.
general admission, like if you're facing the stage, it's
Uh-huh.
outside the festival. The general admission was to the right of the stage. There's a walkway that's blocked off, and then to the left of that is VIP silver, and gold can be there if they want to come down and see
Mhm.
us, but really that area is VIP silver. And my line sister and I had an amazing view, because not only in that little walkway that's blocked off where people can walk from behind the stage also comes out a little bit as well. So we saw Usher. Like, I could see his face, I could see the beads of sweat on his forehead. I saw the beautiful smile on that 45-year-old man's face.
Oh.
When that man smiled, I felt like I was 14 years old all over again, watching him open for Janet on the Velvet Rope tour. And ever since, and I melted in Las Vegas when I saw him in April for my birthday, but I melted even more when I saw him in Philadelphia. And I was like, well, damn, I can't go see him in Paris because
Mm-hmm.
cool. And then when they announced he announced that he was extending his tour, I was like, I'm going. I want to go. And quietly, what I may try to do, this is going to sound crazy, if I don't get the tickets I want tomorrow, because some people have been waiting until like the day of to get tickets.
Yeah. Oh, you just might go out there.
What I may do is just still go to Vegas, because I like
Yeah.
Vegas. In there,
Talk
like
about it,
first time going, and
girl.
I'm gonna go, like, even just to happen and kick it, and if I can get tickets to see my
Tell
boo
me.
I want, I might.
Now we talking. When you say you going again?
I'm telling you, friend, I either want to do it Veterans Day weekend or Thanksgiving. Now, Neighbor Bay, we'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
Bay in a future show. Um, when I said when I wanted to go, and I said Thanksgiving is one of those weekends, and he was like, "You can't go Thanksgiving." I was like, "Why not?" For the new people, Neighbor Bay is not really Bay. He thinks he's my daddy, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
He,
I'm one of them too.
he thinks he runs my life. Um, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But in
Oh
any
my
event, he
God.
can't go Thanksgiving. I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Aren't you hosting?" I said, "Hosting what?" He said, "Thanksgiving." I said, "Who said that?" Not me.
We gonna have a Cornish game hen.
Listen, y'all gonna have a Cornish game hen by yourselves. You won't be having it here.
What a joke.
Not my house.
I hear you. Oh, so now you gonna do single women lady trips out the country for Thanksgiving? That sounds like a good idea.
Well, it's not out the country. It's gonna be in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that too. I'm sorry. Now I just took us out of the country. I was in the Bahamas. I'm
But
sorry.
also don't tell me what's a good time. I
I
mean,
know. I know, girl. I hear you. I hear you. It's a whole club. It's a whole club.
yeah.
All right, girl. Well, it is definitely past your bedtime. My phone is. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo.
Uh,
Yeah, all kind of stuff. Are you ignoring the? Oh God, I am ignoring the man calls. No,
ooh,
I'm on.
why
No,
on live?
I'm.
Why he ain't on live?
No, it's not him. I am on live, and he doesn't know that I'm on live. Somebody else is trying to reach me. This is nothing to do with my boo thing.
Okay, very good.
No, girl, it's about this dinner on.
Oh, dinner on Blanc. Oh no, that's important.
Dinner on Blanc.
and your walking shoes.
Girl, I'm just glad I almost took the dress that I was gonna wear, that I figured out I was gonna wear. I almost took it back today.
See,
Right?
maybe that's a sign.
It's gonna look fabulous.
I know it is. I don't
We're gonna
doubt.
have a good time. We're gonna have a good time. All right, girl. Thank you for tuning in, checking in, all of that good stuff. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. We had a good kiki, and I will talk to you later. Okay?
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. All right, everybody. So thanks so much for tuning in to tonight's episode of the forecast. Um, boom, save. Can I make it a banner? Ah, there it is. We recapped the GOP debate. Despite his absence, Trump still won. Okay. See if I can remember the candidates on the stage. Chris Christie was a bully for a while. Apparently, Nikki Haley was boring despite her many, many qualifications. I'll remember Asa Hutchinson, while I might not remember his state. Asa stood out maybe because of his maturity and age, and then Tim Scott, and no one seemed to be impressed. Vivek, DeSantis, whatever. I hope he bows out with one of those Harold Dean type situations. I apparently have to return a phone call, which I did not expect. But hey, look, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Did I name all the candidates? No, because I don't know the last governor. But it's an impressive field. We got governors, senators, ambassadors, all of that good stuff. Follow Najima on Najima TV on TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, IG, Threads, the whole kit and caboodle, right? Fall fashion is about to drop, and I've got stuff for ya. Meanwhile, I've got to go call someone back who is trying to reach me. It was a great episode tonight. Thanks so much. Check this out on the Urban Music Report. If you have a Roku TV or an Apple TV, go search the apps for UMRC. That's Urban Music Report. If you type in UMRC, UMR Channels Group Media, UMR, and even if you search H2O, all three of those will come up. In your app, search for either UMR Channels Group Media, that's UMRC, or H2O. Go download the app. You can watch the Urban Music Report. You can watch this episode. You can watch this over and over and over again, streaming online, streaming globally. So thanks to all my friends and new followers all across the world. I am in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. Make sure you follow me on all the socials. You are watching The Forecast, Season 2, Episode 2, live recap of the GOP debate and the Trump indictment, which happened today, Thursday, August 24th. And with that, I got to say peace. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.